Hello, and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in work and in life and simplify them. And friends, I want to talk about this little thing you may have heard about. I'll talk about LinkedIn today. And if you don't have a professional brand presence on LinkedIn yet, my friends, I hope by the end of this conversation today, you're like, yes, I need it, or yes, I need to be doing more on it, because this is going to amplify your career, open up new doors of opportunity, or if you're in transition right now, reduce that time between jobs and help you land that next role that is perfect for you. My special guest today, her name is Haley ONeill, and she is a seasoned talent acquisition leader with well over a decade of experience. She specializes in connecting professionals with career-enhancing opportunities across all industries and company sizes. She's also built and managed global recruitment strategies with a passion for employer branding and innovative hiring solutions. She's now a talent partner at Escape, leading non-technical recruitment globally and helping to build teams in a dynamic startup environment. And by the way, she's also a thought leader in talent acquisition with over 100,000 people globally in her LinkedIn network. She's sharing insights on personal branding and career growth. So I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Haley ONeill. Hey, Haley.
Hi, Mary.
I'm so thrilled you're here, and you truly do have quite a presence on LinkedIn. So we want to break it down, simplify it, and learn all the insider secrets that you've learned over time to build this for yourself. Are you ready to spill the tea?
I am so ready.
All right, good. So, we talked a little bit in the intro why, it's important to have a brand presence, your personal and professional brand on LinkedIn. But why do you think it's important to do so? And how can you begin to define your why?
Absolutely. Great question. LinkedIn is at this pivotal moment where it is more than just a job seeking platform. It is truly becoming a social platform. To have a brand on LinkedIn, a personal brand, is an extension of who you are. It's an extension of your resume. It is an extension of your application and your knowledge. So to set yourself up for success, whether you are just here to be an expert in your field and share your knowledge, or as you mentioned before, you are a job seeker looking for something new, it is a beautiful place to be able to utilize and get that visibility that you're looking for.
Now, let's be very, very clear for the naysayers and the pessimistic people that are potentially listening to this episode right now, because I have a few really pessimistic friends that are like, ugh, is she telling me that I have to do TikTok style dances on my LinkedIn now or produce super cheesy videos? None of that, right?
No, that's what TikTok is for. Let's leave that on TikTok. I know that there are thought leaders and creators on LinkedIn that own that niche so well. Let them do it. Unless you are very excited to jump into that form of content, then by all means, you do you. But this is more so to bring your authentic self to the forefront in whichever medium you would like, whether it is a post that you wrote strategically and thoughtfully about something you are an expert in. It could be a video talking about that same sort of expert. You could use different visuals like pictures, power presentations, slides. I mean, you name it. You do what feels best for you.
Yeah. And I should clarify, if you're a dance instructor and you own a studio, then yeah, maybe some dance videos on LinkedIn would be appropriate. But, average Joe like me, I don't think I'll be pulling out any moves anytime soon, right?
No, I am guilty as charged. I have one dance video on LinkedIn, but it was for a good cause. And it was a video game charity to help kids. And so anything to help kids, I mean, I'll do anything. So the dance video does live on LinkedIn, but no, this is about showing and sharing your knowledge with the platform and your network in whichever way you feel most comfortable.
And, I think when I think about LinkedIn, I think it's a very clear vehicle that is very, very, very different from any of the other vehicles out there. And let me just humor me for a second. I think, in the eyes of my teenage kids, they would look at Facebook as like where the old person's Cadillac that nobody is on anymore. So why are you in that vehicle? Instagram is kind of like the vehicle for pretty pictures and almost over stylized, like hyper fantasy home lives, wardrobes. Like, people are looking for a certain aesthetic. That's what you go and get on Instagram. It's for like kind of that visual, quick scroll kind of thing. TikTok, we've already talked about. Dances. X, Twitter, my gosh, what a hot mess is over there.
I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Exactly. My goodness. It's funny. We still have a Twitter X account that we started a million bazillion years ago. But, besides posting what's on the podcast every week, we don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But LinkedIn really is this vehicle that is for professionals in the workplace to share information on a thought leader ledge, and so I think for me, I'm in the HR and L&D space, and employee experience is incredibly important to me. So those are the things that I want to share as my own kind of thought leadership in that space. But I'm also following people that are, posting really important things that help me think differently and help me innovate in the work that I do outside the podcast, right?
Absolutely. There really isn't a competitor to LinkedIn. It's been around for a while. It's not going anywhere. You have Instagram Reels and TikTok that can compete with one another. Facebook, I guess for the elder millennials, as they would call me today, whatever, geriatric millennial. There are competitors with other social platforms. There isn't one for LinkedIn. And I think that's pretty amazing because you can hone all of your energy into one platform.
Yeah.
In regard to professional development, and it even stems further than that, where we can go down different paths of motherhood and professionalism, work-life balance, important topics. I will always go back to parents and motherhood because it's such a relevant topic right now with childcare crisis and how it's affecting the workplace. There's so many different paths that you can take from just the professional experience and knowledge and tie it all together into one platform.
Yeah. And I think bottom line to what you were saying earlier, you want to be able to position yourself as a thought leader in your industry or, in your role and in specific. And I hate to say it, this is going to sound really cynical. I'm the cynical one now, but I don't think there really is much in job security these days. When you hear about another company does a massive layoff, and I feel like it's almost you're taking your own future in your own hands and taking ownership of it. That no matter if your company lays you off tomorrow, you have built this professional brand for yourself on LinkedIn that shows, well, these are the skills I have. These are the places where people listen to me, and in helping me to open the next door to unlock the next opportunity. I think that in my mind, it's a must-have because, the time to set up your LinkedIn is not after you've been laid off, right? It's before.
Yeah. And there's a stat out there that I think the average person spends 17 minutes a month on LinkedIn. Wow. And that, I'm a recruiter. I live on LinkedIn. So that to me is just mind blowing to begin with, but it makes sense, right? It's not top of mind. LinkedIn is usually not the first social app on somebody's phone that they tap into. But to your point, there have been layoffs after layoffs after layoffs, and building a brand for yourself on LinkedIn not only helps, again, create that visibility, but it can open up so many doors to other experiences and opportunities that you may not have thought about yet. And I just read an article where it was elementary school kids were talking about what they want to be when they get older. And one of the top answers were influencer. And it sounds crazy, but think about the control and the creativity and the partnerships that can come out of it. And it never in a million years would I have thought, 3 years ago that I would be where I'm at today, creating this community on LinkedIn. But it opened doors, it opened conversations. I got to meet new people, and it created a world of opportunities that I hadn't imagined for myself yet.
Well, and let's look at it from the lens of a recruiter. Like if you are trying to figure out your top 10 or top 20 candidates to fill a role, I'm willing to bet you're going to their LinkedIn to cross-check the information that's shown on the resume and the application. Is this how they show up on LinkedIn? And then I'm guessing you're going to favor the person who seems to be active on LinkedIn and is a thought leader who other people follow and engage with as well. But you tell me, is that true?
It's a piece of it. A lot of times I'll look at LinkedIn to see if there's any missing information. There are things on LinkedIn that you will not see on your resume and vice versa. So it's a nice way to see more of the story of the human behind the application. And then it's almost a cherry on top if they are, depending on the role, right? Let me say that first and foremost. But if they are active on LinkedIn and sharing industry news, if they're sharing their expertise on a certain topic, if they are celebrating their team members, it's great to see when I'm hiring a people leader that they're sharing promotions on their team, they're sharing internal transfers. It just brings a personality to the resume and the application that you're missing in an application. So it's a tool in your toolbox, I would say. It's not if you don't have an active LinkedIn, I'm not going to even move forward with you, but it's more so like it's the cherry on top.
Yeah, I would imagine it fleshes out the full picture of the candidate themselves. And, in my opinion, I mean, your LinkedIn profile, my goodness, what a tool in your toolbox it is, because you would also have recommendations from colleagues or former bosses that, hopefully are saying nice things about you and your work style and your leadership style. But I also, and let's talk about the what and the how, like where do you go afterwards to build the content? But one of the things that I focus on in my own kind of content strategy on LinkedIn, especially when I was in transition looking for my next role, I knew that I would be looking for a people leader role. So make sure I'm putting content out every now and again that talks about emotional intelligence and how important that is, or how to give feedback to your people. What are green flags in people versus red flags? And this reiterates to a person who's going to quickly scroll through your LinkedIn, give it maybe 6 seconds of quick glance and go, oh, she understands emotional intelligence. Oh, she, understands what makes a good people leader and what doesn't. I would like to believe those are things that help a recruiter get over the hump of, should we put this person on the top 20 list? Should we book a screening call or not? Right?
Yeah, it's kind of peeling back the onion and seeing a different layer of the candidate. It's another way to see their thought process in certain things. And again, depending on the role, it varies so much, but the fact that they're taking the time to want to educate their network as well, it speaks volume that, again, when you think about a leadership position, they're in a position to teach, to lead, to share their knowledge in a very authentic and genuine way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So practical next steps. You've defined your why. And for some people, it might be, I got to get a next job, or I want to become a public speaker in the next year, or I want to, show up as an expert in my field. What's the next step after that? What would you recommend people do once they define their why?
Once you define your why, you want to think about what you are an expert in. Mm-hmm. I've talked to a lot of people who this is a vulnerable moment in sharing their knowledge because they don't, and it's mostly women, let me say, they don't want to come across as like this cocky, arrogant expert on LinkedIn. And we have to shift our mindset that when you're coming from a place of, again, authenticity, and you are an expert and you want to share your expertise and your knowledge with your community, that is it's thoughtful. It's coming across as an educator and not as someone who is here to aggressively share their thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
So I always say when I'm working with professionals, think about 3 areas that you consider yourself to be an expert in. For example, myself, I would never in a million years talk about anything having to do with like technical recruitment, coding, Python. Like, I'm not the person for that. I will, however, talk about recruitment and job seeking. I will talk about how important flexibility is in the workplace. I will talk about what it is like to be a professional and a mother of 2 young children and how I balance. Not only would I consider myself an expert in this, but it tugs at my heartstrings, and I want to help people understand that there are resources out there to tap into. So I think if it comes from a place of this is my like word of the chat, but authenticity, it's genuine. It comes from your heart, as cheesy as it sounds. It's going to sound real and genuine, and that's what people want. So find the 3 things that you are an expert in, and find 3 things that you want to teach others or what you can teach others. And those are the building blocks of your content. That's where you find your pillars. And then you can move up and down within those pillars, depending on what is happening in the world, what is happening in your industry, what is happening in your personal life. If you feel up to sharing that sort of information, it's a way to connect with your community in a very real way.
I think that's really great advice, because I think most times, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, when I do a new thing, I want to overthink it, over plan, over analyze what all I need to do, and I do nothing, right? So if you can just simplify down to 3, your big 3 topics or areas of expertise where you want to come across, I think that that's very smart. And also for the job seekers out there, I would just say, make sure it's the 3 main areas that are aligned with the types of jobs you're going after. So if you talk about, I don't know, bread baking and firefighting and, I don't know, cooking the ultimate omelet, but you're actually trying to get a job in employee experience, then it's going to be very confusing to your audience of like, I think she's really good at breaking bread, but why does she want a job in HR? Like,
yeah, you're exactly right. And I think like those little fluff pieces is what I like to call them. It brings the personality in.
Yes.
You're right. Like 90%, especially for job seekers, 90% of what you're putting out into the world, you want to highlight your expertise and your knowledge, for, you said it beautifully, for the job that you want and what you're seeking. Yeah. I think the other important part here is ensuring you have the right audience that you're speaking to. If you're a baker and you're wanting to get a baking job, but your network is full of engineers, you're not going to reach and resonate with your audience. So it goes back to being in control and building the audience that you want to cater that content to, and then expand from there.
Yeah. And, don't forget hashtags. People still do use them. And, if people are looking for the latest and greatest posts or articles on a certain topic, like say employee experience, you would hashtag employee experience or hashtag AI for HR. And those people that are looking for that kind of content are going to find you a lot easier. So kind of leveraging those, I think is incredibly important. Talk to about like defining who you're going after, like if there are target companies or key people, leaders that you'd want to, eventually attract to your content or to your feed. What's your process for that?
Absolutely. I'll take it from a job seeker's perspective, because I think that is such an important topic right now, with, as we shared, the multiple layoffs continuing on. But I think first going after the companies that you would love to work for. Think about who those companies are and start following them. within the company page, there's a search for people who work at the company. So yes, you can go after recruiters. I will say recruiters' inboxes are insane. So what I suggest and encourage is to go after those who would be on your team, peers that you would be working with, leaders that you could be working for, cross collaborators that you may be working closely with. Send them a connection and simply say like, "Hey, love the company. Love, the content that you're putting out. Would love to be within your community." And it's as simple as that. And so what you're doing, and if you look at the different companies you're targeting and you do this for a handful of companies, let's say 5 people at each company, that is, 20, 25 people in your network now that you want to have visibility to you. The way the LinkedIn algorithm works is very similar to how TikTok works, where the more that you are engaging with certain content, the more that type of content is going to land on your newsfeed. So if these folks are talking about, like, let's go back to that baker example, and these are people who are talking about new recipes, brand new restaurants that are opening up, job opportunities, they're going to see, and you're creating content that resonates with what they're talking about, your feed is going to, or your content, is going to end up on their feed. The more consistently you do it, the more you interact with them, the AI and the algorithm is going to learn what your needs are, what their needs are, what they're looking for, what you're looking for, and it's going to make the connection.
I'll tell you guys this, exactly what she just said in the last 2 minutes, it works, because I did that to the T while I was in transition looking for my next role. And with one of my top companies, I easily, and I've probably had 9 or 10 conversations with different key members in the team before I even got into the interview pipeline. And so as I was going through the interview process, having the screening call with the recruiter, and she's like, "Oh, well, the next call would be with so-and-so." And I go, "Oh, great. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago." And she'd be like, "Oh, well, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you have connected with them. And then after that, you'll have a panel interview with so-and-so and so-and-so." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've talked to 2 of those 4 people." and so they're just, it, for the recruiter, that doesn't sound creepy and stalker. It sounds like, wow, this person is already embedded in our culture at this company. They understand, they've taken the initiative to meet the people. And this is one less barrier that gets us from a point of like, is she the right fit, to 100% she's the right fit. We have to give her an offer because she's already, so embedded inside the team culture and understanding. And we would be fools not to have her on board in the team. This stuff works.
It works. And yeah, to your point, you're showing your investment in the company up front. And that just proves to us as a TA team and a hiring team that that investment is going to continue. And we hope to give that investment back into you. So, it's going back to building your audience, follow, the companies that you like, follow the leaders that you want. Even the very large LinkedIn creators that have millions and millions of followers, if you're commenting on things that resonate with you, posts that resonate with you, articles that they've shared, that's visibility to other folks that are reading that same article and running through that thread of comments. There are so many different ways to get yourself out there and take control of the audience that you want to build. Again, going back to those baby steps, don't do it all at once. Spend one day looking for companies. The next day you can spend going back to those companies and finding those people, and just continue to break it down into baby steps so it doesn't feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose, because there's so much information out there and so many different ways that you can move forward. But baby steps is key.
And again, keep it rooted, this whole process, keep it rooted with your why. Because if you can remember, why am I investing so much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears into this? Oh yeah, so I can do XYZ, right? And then it helps you to kind of, manage your time around it. Because I think with any social media platform, they're specifically built to keep your eyeballs locked to that platform, right? Mm-hmm. So the addictive feeling that you feel when you're scrolling through Instagram Reels, guess what? It's there on the back end of LinkedIn. And I find, for me at least, I kind of put some boundaries on that for my own mental health and wellness, and say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes doing this. And I block it out in my calendar and I, have a start and an end timer. And then boom, I'm moving on to the next thing. This is not a spend 10 hours a day on LinkedIn sort of thing, right?
No, absolutely not. That I don't even want to spend, I live on LinkedIn and I don't want to spend 10 hours a day on LinkedIn. No, this is, you have to do what's right for you and you do not want to burn yourself out. LinkedIn has scheduling features now with your posts. So let's say on a Monday, you have like a random few hours to build out content or articles that you want to share throughout the day. They have a scheduling resource now that you can go ahead and do that on Monday. You don't have to touch LinkedIn again until Friday if you want to, because now you have, 2 or 3 posts happening throughout. If you are jumping onto LinkedIn throughout the week, then you're spending 10 minutes, again, scrolling, connecting with people, commenting, reacting, you name it. But there's a way to utilize your time efficiently without burning out on LinkedIn, because then you're going to hate LinkedIn and then you're going to want nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Just like starting a new diet or nutrition plan, you go strong and then like week 3, you go, oh, this is a lot of effort. And then you give up, right?
You're like, I'm done. I don't want to do that. I want the cheeseburger. I don't want to eat another piece of fruit. No, you're exactly. Yeah. You don't want to burn yourself out. It's the little steps that will help you in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the how then next. What are some simple, easy ways that somebody could go create content on LinkedIn right now?
Yeah. I think, kind of backtracking and thinking about the foundations of LinkedIn, the first and foremost, get comfortable with the platform. If you're not comfortable with the platform, you're not going to want to use it. It's going to be scary. So get in there, learn about the different features. If you click on posts, there are like 10 different areas and features that you can explore just right there in that one piece of LinkedIn. Find out where, the industry news is popping up every day. Like, just get familiar with it. I promise you that the more comfortable you're feeling with LinkedIn, the more you're going to want to jump on and use it. And I say that from both the desktop perspective and the mobile perspective, because they do feel a little bit different, but get familiar, get comfortable. I think, again, going back to the foundational piece, update your profile. And it could be as simple as, update your profile picture and your background header today. Tomorrow, work on your professional summary. Sunday, work on updating your experience and making sure you're highlighting any accomplishments or relevant projects that relate to previous roles and what will, be relevant to future roles. So again, it's going back to those baby steps of going from top to bottom on your profile and just making sure that everything is buttoned up. And then going back to what I talked about before and finding those areas of what you consider yourself to be an expert in, write those 3 things down, put it on a sticky note and just have it front and center. So again, it ties back to your why. I would have your why up top, your 3 things that you consider yourself to be an expert in. And then 3 things you want to teach people. And then from there, if you're not ready to write a post about it, find an article that you loved and that resonated with you and share it out to your network with like 1 or 2 sentences as to why it resonated with you. And that's all you have to do. It takes 5 minutes.
Totally. 100% what she just said. Reposting articles and then sharing your own thoughts. That's the button that you choose on it. It allows you to put out an article that you have not read or written, but you've read, and you agree with, or maybe you don't agree with, and you go, hey, there's this really interesting article about AI and employee experience. And I loved point 2, but I'm not sure about point 5. And here's why. Bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3. That's a lot quicker content to create and write than if you're trying to draft up a whole article by yourself or a whole brand new thought and you go, oh, I don't know. And then you bounce, right?
Right. And it also brings inspiration. You might not have the time to write about this particular topic that this article is speaking of, but you can share your thoughts. And then next week, when you do have time, you can come back to that topic after you've had kind of a moment to simmer on it and elaborate on it. Again, goes for getting onto your feed and finding folks that are writing thoughtful content that you want to engage with, it's inspiration. And so something, even just reading these, thoughtful posts, they could spark inspiration and lead to a different topic or a continued version of that topic down the road.
Yeah. And, for me, I found over this last year, as I really kind of dive deep into my own kind of, background in HR and employee experience, I found like 2 or 3 thought leaders that just were always putting out A++ kind of content. One in particular, Wouter Duville, like he makes these beautiful graphics that I would gosh, like this is such a beautiful graphic, so easy to understand and a lovely visual, of how to give feedback or how to build an employee engagement strategic plan. And so just reposting a graphic that somebody else built and go, yes, I love this piece of this, and here's why. And here's my thought. And Haley, I'm curious if you agree or disagree on this. I think in this day and age, where people are inundated with social media, they're inundated with content that they just don't read as much as they used to. And so I am very strategic about anything that I post on my LinkedIn has bullet points, has emojis. So if somebody is like quick scan, super fast scrolling, something's going to catch their eye. They're going to spend a second or two on my post. Because I just don't think a big, long diatribe kind of paragraph it's actually doing a worse job than a good one. What do you think?
I think the majority of the time, I 100% agree with you. I am guilty of that myself. Usually I'm scrolling through quickly, like while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning, and these little snackable moments on LinkedIn where, to your point, it is like a quick 15, 20-second read. I'm going to interact with more and I'm going to see more. However, I do think that there is a place and a time for those longer written form posts. However, and you said it kind of beautifully with the emojis and making it visually pretty to catch somebody's eye. Yeah. Instead of just doing a block of text, you do add those features in. You break it up, you make it flow really nicely so that they're not reading, it doesn't look like they're reading a novel, but they're reading kind of these like high level bullet points. And then adding a picture or a visual to it always attracts the eye to the post.
Yeah, because if you also think about a person that's looking at it on their phone, it's teeny tiny in text.
Right.
Like, say they're, I don't know, flipping through LinkedIn and they're catching the train to get to work, right? So they're just sort of mindlessly scrolling. You want to get something that does catch their eye. And I have found, and I'm curious if it's the same for you, as dumb as this is, but algorithms do what algorithms do. When I post a photo of myself or, a smiley photo of me or my kids or my dog or whatever, that gets so much engagement sometimes. And you just think, God, it's so dumb. But if you sprinkle that in here and there, I think, that has something like, hey, these are the things I'm grateful for today. Bullet point 1, 2, and 3. I'm just so grateful for you guys that engage with our content or whatever it is. It's amazing. You don't have to overthink this and have some super profound thought every single time you post on LinkedIn, right?
No, my son turned 3 back in June, and I did a post with a picture of him and I, and it was like, here's the thing my 3-year-old son taught me about preparing myself for work, and it was silly, and it was light, and it was thoughtful, but yeah, it doesn't have to be groundbreaking knowledge every single time. It's more about what resonates with your audience, and I, for myself, my audience is a lot of folks in TA, a lot of job seekers, but it's also a lot of women and a lot of mothers. And I know how important it is for me to have my community and my village around as a full-time professional. And so to be able to provide almost a real life behind the scenes moment of the profile, right? It sounds like, you're right. It sounds so dumb and so cheesy, but it humanizes the experience.
Yes.
Instead of just having like another bot behind the scenes writing something. Yeah.
to what you were saying earlier, because I feel like it's worth kind of putting a pin in. For those that are afraid of kind of coming off as bragging or boasting when they post, what advice would you give those people?
It is a vulnerable moment to share your thoughts. It's hard not to fear judgment of others, especially in the social world. I think stemming from what you know and being excited to share something new is not going to come off boastful or arrogant. It's going to come off as confident and as an expert and someone people want to learn something new from. And I think that's so important. I think that and you know what, if you celebrate yourself too. Like I know I'm myself, I have a hard time celebrating myself. And I have to say that it's okay if something good happens to me to share it with my community, because you deserve to share it with the community and you deserve to celebrate yourself. And that goes into this too. It is vulnerable, but build the space that you want, create the audience that you want to speak to, create your community and go for it. And I wish I had more profound, knowledge and advice behind it, but I think it's one of those things where you just have to do it and feel it out and be confident in what you're saying without worrying about what others might think.
Here's my thoughts. Every time I speak at a conference or an industry event, I always have a place in the beginning where I stop and I say, okay, guys, before we start this talk, I want you to meet the person next to you and take a picture, take a selfie with somebody. And then I want you to Girl Scout honor, promise you're going to post this on LinkedIn, that I have invested my time and money into my professional development to learn XYZ that I'm learning today. And really push people to take that time and be out there and tell people, hey, I'm learning about AI today, or hey, I'm learning about this, that, and the other. Because I feel like this is your opportunity and chance to really show people that you are committed to your own career advancement, your own professional development, and you're learning stuff. Even simply if I'm watching a virtual conference online, which just a few weeks ago, I attended the Indeed Future Works conference. And I simply took a screenshot of the virtual conference. And one of the most incredible speakers was the former chairman and CEO of PepsiCo, Indira. And she is brilliant and super smart. And so as I'm watching her keynote, I'm taking some notes of quotes that she says and wisdom, just as I would normally do. And I'm going, this is a post. Screenshot the image, beautiful image of the webcast. Hear about the wise words from Indira from this one, tagged Indeed on it. And because I tagged Indeed, Indeed liked it, which all of a sudden the algorithms went bananas for, and it got spread amongst, a whole bunch of people that are above and beyond my feed. And so it's just simply being a good steward of the things that you're already doing in your life and just thinking about how you can amplify that on your posts, because, tagging Indira on it as well also helps to improve the visibility of it. So, again, don't overthink it. You should totally post the selfie. You should totally tell people you're going to the conference or you just received a certification or finished an executive course. Like, these are things that are well earned and hard effort was put towards going and doing the thing. Tell people about it for sure. 100%.
100%. Do it for you too. This is a moment for you to applaud yourself and celebrate yourself. And I think it's so important for you to recognize it. But it also shows, again, it shows your journey as a professional and that you're investing in yourself. So I think my biggest advice here, and where I find a lot of people get hung up on, is they'll be super excited. They'll post something out there and they're not getting the reaction that they want. Like, don't let that stop you. Keep posting. Yeah. The more you post, the more consistent you're about it, the more you're going to see what you want. And if you're not getting the reaction that you want on a Tuesday at 9 a.m., try it again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Like, you're going to find what works best for you, and don't feel disheartened if you don't get the initial reaction that you're hoping for.
Yeah. And back to the original analogy of like a diet or nutrition plan, you're starting a new workout plan. You're not going to be super buff in like a week.
I'm not.
So no,
Oh.
it takes tiny, incremental, daily, imperfect action to get to where you want to go. And that leads me to another thought of like, how do we measure success? Like, with all this effort that is necessary to really stand out on LinkedIn, what's a way that a person could measure their success?
That's a great question. I think it is more about quality than quantity. You could have thousands and thousands of followers, but they may not be quality followers, and they might not be quality connections. I think the quality around the community that you're building is a huge factor. You could have 500 people in your network, but they're quality connections and they are engaging with you because of the content that you're creating, and you're engaging back. I think that is a huge one. I think another is I think it's not necessarily a success factor, but a bonus, and it's the relationships that come with it, and the doors that open for you. It's the amount of people that I have been able to meet and connect with, given the community that I've been able to build, and the stories that I've heard from them have been incredible. And to me, I guess I would say it is a measure of success, because it went back to my why of wanting to help people, and I'm seeing firsthand that it's working. Yeah. So I don't think it's a one size fit all. I think you go back to grounding yourself in your why and what would be successful to you with that why, and measuring it from there.
Yeah. So back to the job seeker example, if you are trying to find your next role, maybe the metric to success is how many, I don't know, virtual coffees did I book this month versus last month? Because I built relationships with people over time, and then eventually got the courage up to ask, hey, do you have 15 or 30 minutes? Let's carve out some time and have a virtual coffee so I can learn more about the work you do at XYZ company. And seeing that conversion rate from maybe 2 months ago, where you weren't getting anybody responding to you, but now you're investing time and you're showing them love on their posts and commenting and engaging and sparking conversations. And you now booked 4 virtual coffees this month, and those virtual coffees turned into job interviews next month, or open doors with recruiters. That's a tangible way to say, yes, the effort I've put in, the time I've put in is turning into results, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, great example. And I think it goes back to baby steps, and going back to measuring how many companies you are now connected with and following, and the amount of folks from each company that you're connected and following and chatting with, which, again, you just said beautifully, leads into those virtually coffee chats, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah. So if you're curious about Haley and how she shows up on LinkedIn and how she has amassed 100,000 plus followers, I would highly recommend you check her out online on LinkedIn. So everything that we talked about in today's episode, you could find over at our show notes at thesimplifiers.com. But Haley ONeill, that is her moniker on LinkedIn. So if you did that as a search, you'd be able to find her there online. And again, I mean, I think that just taking a page from her book and seeing the cadence by which she posts and what she's posting might start to give you some clues as you're crafting your own strategy and what you will post in the future. And again, how you'll stand out on LinkedIn. So Haley, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you that we ask everybody as we wrap up today's conversation. Here we go. First and foremost, tell me, what's one book or blog that you're reading these days that's either inspiring you or challenging your belief system and poking holes in it?
Yeah. So I recently just read, it's a fiction book, Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And it is a book about choices and the decisions that you make and how it leads you to the path that you're on today. And it's a a story of reflection of how those decisions can put you down different paths, but ultimately the one that you're on is the right one. So very insightful and a great way to ground myself in the path that I'm on.
Oh, I love it. We so rarely read fiction books these days, especially for those that are like professional development junkies. You got a whole stack full of nonfiction. It's nice to have a fiction book, and that one is excellent.
It is.
So tell me, who is one person, somebody you know personally in your network that you just feel is up to brilliant things? If we were to shine a spotlight on them, who would that be? And maybe, who knows, one day we'll have them on the podcast.
Yeah. 100% highlighting. Her name is Mari Galuska, and she is also in the TA space. What is so special? She's special in many different ways, but really stands out to me is she is. Her husband's in the special forces in the military and is consistently gone. She has 2 boys. She is again a rock star recruiter working at a very well-known company and raising these 2 boys with her husband gone quite a bit. And not only has she figured out how to manage that piece, but she has helped so many people transitioning from the military into professional life. She has stood up trainings for the veteran community. I mean, what she is doing is incredible. And she is just an all-around awesome human being. So definitely check her out.
Well, we will link her up in the show notes if you guys are curious about the work that she does in the world. Again, you can find those show notes over at thesimplifiers.com. I believe gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, so many things, but what comes top of mind, my husband, it sounds so cheesy, but he has been my cheerleader, through thick and thin, whether it is things happening in my personal life, things happening in my professional life, being there through the peaks and valleys of motherhood. He has just continued to cheer me on along the way, and truly believe that he has helped me get to where I am today.
Oh, what's his name?
His name's Eric.
Shout out to the Erics in the world. Yes. Awesome.
He's a good one. I'll keep him.
Yeah, I think you should. So again, if you're curious about what Haley ONeill is doing over on LinkedIn, go to our show notes. You'll find the links to click through to connect with her online. It's the best way to get connected with her. Comment on a post, say you heard it here in the Simplifiers podcast. That probably would make her day so great and make her smile that when she gets that. I have one final question for you. Someone somewhere is listening to you and I right now. And let's say maybe they are in transition. They've been going months without a job, and they are starting to really get worried about things like, oh my gosh, when is this transition period going to end? Maybe I do need to show up more on LinkedIn, but I'm totally scared. I'm totally overwhelmed. What's one thing you could whisper in their ear right now just to encourage them in this moment?
Oh, I think, well, there's so many things I want to whisper in their ear. I think one is I find that having somebody in your corner is extremely helpful in having that buddy. And whether it is a previous mentor, it's a peer, it's a family member, reach out to them and connect with them, brainstorm with them, go back to those top 3 things of what you are an expert in, what you can teach others, but don't go through it alone. I think that is the hardest part of going through this job searching scenario and circumstance, and it's hard to go dark. So if you have somebody next to you that is your cheerleader along the way, and someone you can bounce ideas off of, and it's a quick phone call or text away to jump on and connect with one another. So that would be my biggest advice.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.